What's up, entrepreneurs and high ticket closers who are selling services online? If you want to know, because you're kind of hitting your head against a wall with having a consistent sales process where you have a conversion event on the phone that consistently enrolls people into your product or service, then you'll need to watch this video. This is another training I did internally for a sales team where we go over the exact process. It's mostly leveraged for B2C, this particular one, but I do mention some of the nuances of B2B, whether you're selling to unsophisticated or sophisticated buyers, some of the nuances that go into that, but just an overall generic approach of a sales process, how to take a person in a one-call close, take them from the top down to the bottom where you have a transaction. If you want to check that out, watch right now. Okay, so this is going to be big picture, the sales process, okay, that we're using. So this is where the script and the actual language is predicated on a process. That process is a way that we want you communicating, right? So this is how to have a conversation with a prospect, and it's specifically for this transactional conversation where you're having one conversation that leads to a transaction, to a close, to a sale at the end of the conversation. So this is a closing conversation process. So I have this thing laid out here in a lucid chart. And you can kind of see it looks maybe daunting, but I'm getting very, even though it's high level overview, I'm getting a little granular so that you can see all the chunks of each aspect of the call. Okay. So we're just going to get into this so that you guys can understand the script and the words are actually coming from this process. So before you even have this conversation, your approach to the call, before you even dial, right? You can see here, HOB. So the acronym HOB. You need to have fun, offer value, and be influential, right? So you have to have fun with people. It's going to help shape your energy and all the nonverbals of your call. You have to have fun, and that makes you more attractive. It makes the person trust you. You create better rapport. And then you're also not getting energy drained from this thing. If it's high stakes, high stress, anxiety, no one wants to have a conversation like that, whether it's the prospect or the salesperson. So just casual, have fun. They're another person. Like, you're excited to talk to them. And then you got to offer value, right? Like, they're reaching out for help with a problem. So it's like, you need to be valuable, right? Be someone who can bring value into this person's life, right? And have certainty that you have that value to bring. And then lastly, be influential. You're here to inspire and persuade, but you're here to influence, right? They reached out because they want to be influenced, right? They just want to be influenced by the right person into the right direction. And so that's just your mindset, your approach to the call, even before you start this thing, okay? And then we can see here is you're going to have intro. Then there's going to be a discovery section. You're going to recap discovery. You're going to talk about solution. You're going to temp check the person to make sure that there's buy-in on the program apart from money. Then you got to drop the money. Then there's objections. Okay, objections. There's three main objections: money, indecision, decision maker. Or I'm sorry. There's money, indecision. So like, think about it. And then spouse, right? But behind those three objections is uncertainty. You're actually not bought in on the program or the process, right? So like the actual product or service, they don't feel 100% about it. So it's like spouse then is a facade for that. Money is a facade for that. Thinking about it is a facade for that. So you got to make sure there's total certainty in buying. That's why we do the temp check before the price drop. And then you're working through the objection. Then you have some ladder questions to get the credit card, and then you got to button down the sale. So I'm going to go through this whole process. We talked about the approach. So let's get into your intro, right? And that starts with rapport. And that is typically like, hey, is this so-and-so? Yeah, this is Taylor calling you. I know we have our call scheduled. How's your day going? Very typical chit chat. Like, we don't need to get into business stuff yet. Like, we need to know that we're both human beings. Now, just realize there are nuances to a sales process depending on the market, the offer, and if you're business to consumer, business to business. All of those things start to create nuance and shift with this stuff. So, for example, if this is like B2B and you're being shopped in the manufacturing space, yeah, there's always a place for rapport, but depending on where in the sales cycle you are, if this is the first interaction or the 15th interaction, because sales cycles in manufacturing are going to be much longer, then you might need to be like, hey, I don't want to waste your time. Let's talk about what you're here for, right? Business. It's business time. So there are nuances to this, but for the most part, you want to have connection and build trust with a person before this conversation. And then you got to frame the conversation. And this is putting you in a position of authority for the call, which is good because they're reaching out to you. You are providing a solution. And again, the nuance with sales conversations, this is inbound. So the lead has come to us and has booked in a call, or they've been set by a person that was an inbound lead via marketing. So we're going to frame and tell them like, hey, here's what the call is about. Here's our goal. And also frame gives you the opportunity to help frame away some of the objections that can come up. For example, hey, just want to make sure if we end up talking about, our program, if it's the right fit, is that something that you'd be able to decide on, or does someone else need to be here with us? That is helping, like, from the very get-go. Hey, are you the decision maker? Because if not, I want them on the phone too, right? Or also just indecision. Like, hey, if we talk about the program, or when we talk about the program, if it feels great, obviously I'll want to know that so we can get you started. If it doesn't feel 100% great, that's okay. Just let me know, because one way or the other, I just want to know if it's a yes or no today. And I'm okay with a no, right? So that helps also frame away, hey, we need to have a decision at the end of this. It's okay if it's a no, right? I'm cool with that. So that's rapport and frame for the most part. Okay, and then discovery is really key. So for a lot of sales, especially if, like with Alive and Free, in the emotional health space, if we're talking B2C, so it's broad market, we're going straight to the consumer, right? They're a consumer who's purchasing the product, the service. It's going to be very emotionally charged. The pain is the sale, right? As my friend Alex Hormozy used to say, the pain is the sale. So it's like creating the size of the pain is very important, and the emotional connection to that pain is very important. And you want to draw that out in the discovery section in order to have a transaction, because in that B2C space, right, and you're just going straight to consumer, to a person, they're going to consume the product themselves. Like if you have a headache, right, and that's all that you think your problem is, you have a $20 budget for ibuprofen. But if someone ushers you through a conversation and a doctor helps you realize that it's actually a brain tumor, well, now you have a new budget. You might have a $20,000 budget for surgery to get that fixed. So the size and gravity of the problem dictates the price and the value of what you're going to offer. So it's just important that we get that out there. And the various questions, so you do have outcome, because people are motivated towards a desire. They're trying to get to a certain place. And then they have a pain and a problem, right? They have their existing reality, their hell that they're trying to get away from, right? And basically the gap between current reality and future reality is their need. And that's why they're reaching out to you. So we have to make it very clear. How big is the desire? How big is the pain? how far and wide can we stretch the heaven and the hell? And that's where we can find need. But there's also a lot of emotional things that, because people buy an emotion and they justify with logic, we need to lace both of those elements into the discovery, because ultimately we want them to sell themselves on this program. We don't want to sell them. So we're trying to get, hey, do they have the support of others? I.e., do other people know about this? Like if it's B2B, like does the rest of the team, are they bought in? If there are other decision makers, are all parties involved good? Or like if it's a husband and the wife needs to know, like, is she bought in? Have we created enough pain, right? Because people have a fear of more pain, right? And they want to get away from current pain. They also have motivation towards desire. So we're trying to hear that. And this is why we go outcome, pain, problem, and then gap. We're trying to see if there's a doubt of them doing this themselves, right? And so when we're discovering, right, and it's like we have to blatantly be like, hey, so you're obviously reaching out. Like, why aren't you confident that you can do this yourself? What's missing for you? That then helps them identify, I cannot solve this problem myself. So at some point, I have to hire somebody because I cannot solve this problem myself. Otherwise, you get the objection of like, I'm just going to try this myself. And then you get to the end of the call and they give you some sort of weird objection and walk around, but ultimately they're like, I can do this myself. So I don't need your help. You have to really create doubt that they can do this themselves. Then on a logic, it's like, is there a cost of doing nothing, right? Can we get to the end of this conversation, see how great the problem is, how amazing the outcome they're trying to get to? And if they don't do anything, is there a cost, right? If you're staying in a problem, is there a cost, like in fitness, right? If the person is overweight, the cost could be, hey, if you don't lose weight, you might have a heart attack. If you don't lose weight, the next 3-year window of doing baseball with your kid and being able to actually participate and coach, you won't be able to do because you're too overweight to move, right? So if you don't do anything right now, that 3-year window, it's going to be gone. So there's tangible cost in terms of finances, but then there's also qualitative costs, emotionally. If they've tried other things, what have they spent already trying to fix this problem and they still haven't fixed it? That's really important to get. And then we're also trying to figure out, is there a difference between what they might be shopping, what else they've tried already, and what our solution is? So we're trying to ask questions like, so if a person is like, hey, I tried counseling. Be like, okay. And like, tell me what in the counseling did you not get and why you're reaching out today? And we're trying to understand what was counseling missing. So that way, when I go down to packaging the program and the solution, I know how I'm going to package it because I'm going to show how we are so different from the counseling that they got. And then they also need to have certainty about what they're needing. And that's part of you being the expertise and the guide and the sage, is you are creating clarity and certainty about what they're needing. Because whoever knows their problem the best, I forget where I heard this, but if the prospect believes that you know their problem really well, they also believe you know their solution really well. So if you know exactly the problem, where they're trying to go, and what they're needing, they're going to assume you have a solution that's really, really good and really powerful. So that's why we're going through that discovery and we're asking questions. We're trying to understand, hey, why, like, where are you trying to go? Why is that important to you? Where are you at right now? What's it costing you? What's the problem? What have you tried? What do you think's missing? So we're trying to get all those questions answered. It's lots and lots of questions. Okay. Then you recap. So you've asked all these questions and collected all this information. Now you want to display some more authority. And you are basically like, hey, I want to make sure I'm understanding you. People love to feel known and understood. So the recap is to make them feel like, hey, I was listening really well, and I want to make sure I'm understanding where you're at. Do you feel that way? So it's very important that we not just display we're understanding. We need to check in, be like, do you feel like I understand? Great. Then you always got to wrap it up with an invitation. People don't want to be sold. So it's like, hey, do you want to hear my thoughts? They're like, yes. There's invitation into the solution. Cool. At the solution, ultimately we need to sell the belief and then the program that is behind that belief. So with Alive and Free, for example, we need to make sure that they are sold on the belief that these relationship problems and issues and attraction and non-attraction, it has nothing to do with those things. The problem is past pain and trauma that's been unresolved, that has formed a belief or a lie about themselves and the world that we need to allow Jesus to come in and fix and heal. So we got to get them bottom end on that belief. Then we can talk about the how, right? And then when you talk about the how, people don't care about features, right? So we need to show the feature, right? People don't care about the plane ride. They care about the vacation. They still need to know what terminal to go to, though. Because if they don't know what terminal to go to, it's hard to get excited about the vacation because they don't know the feature of what to go, what button to press. So you got to connect their need, what they said in your discovery. You're customizing the program around those needs and how it's going to take them away from their pain and move them towards their desire, right? And so you're really leveraging the benefit. There's some feature, but you're really leveraging the benefit. And then you're telling them the exact next steps. So it's like, hey, the way that we would get you started is super simple and easy. Here's what the next steps are. So now they've got a very clear, like, okay, I'm sold on the belief that this program and this service is attached to. So now no matter what, I'm going to try and find what this belief is. Then we're customizing the solution and the features as massive benefits specifically around the discovery that we did. And then we're telling them the exact next steps as if they're signing up. So there's perfect clarity of everything they need to do. And now this makes so much sense and sounds amazing. Now that we've done that, then you do the temp check, which is, hey, I know we might need to talk about money, or like, hey, before we go any further, I just want to make sure, like, does this program sound like 100% what you need? Are you all bought in, right? And we need to make sure we have total program buy-in, total certainty, because coming down to objections, I don't want to have to overcome uncertainty again. I want to do it right now. And then again, people don't want to be sold, so we let them lead into the next steps, right? So it's like, well, hey, where do you want to take it from here? And be like, well, how much does it cost? Now we do the price drop. And again, every offer, niche, market, B2C versus B2B, there's going to be some nuance in this. Chunking up the cost of not doing this, chunking down the cost of doing this, B2C, like broad market, is going to work better. If you're B2B, sophisticated buyers, you don't need to do that. You're going to sound salesy. So you do your price statement, right? So we're framing money as good. And then we tell them the price. And now that we've anchored the price, we throw on a bonus, right? And a guarantee on top of the price and program. So that way it really ramps up value, perceived value. Now, again, that only is going to work for unsophisticated buyers like the girls that Alive and Free is talking to, B2C, broad market, relationships. If this were B2B, or like sophisticated people who have a team and they're doing 7 figures plus, like they're, doing a bonus and guarantee is going to sound salesy. A guarantee can still be strong if you position it the right way. Not that it doesn't work. It just starts to get a little more salesy. So with Alive and Free and with that offer, works great. Then you just got to wait, right? So you ask for the sale. So, does 2,000 work? Then objections are going to happen. Objections, right? Remember, they're going to say money, or they're going to say think about it. They're going to say, I need to ask so-and-so. It doesn't really matter, because we need to make sure that it's not a facade for uncertainty in the program. So whether it's think about it, money, spouse, oh, I didn't know it was going to be this much. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, I don't have that much money. Oh, there's no way I can do this. Oh, that's too expensive. Oh, do you guys have a different price? Like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Hey, can I get back to you? Hey, I need to pray on this. It doesn't matter. You always want to agree, because for a transaction to happen, there has to be agreement. So you have to agree. You're like, hey, no problem. It's great. That aside, do you feel like this program is 100% what you need and you feel good about it? Yes. Cool. So it's just the money and making that work. Yes. So you see, you're making sure it's not uncertainty, but then you have to, so you're isolating, and then you're tying it down again. You isolate again. Okay. So it is just money. Yeah. Okay. Now you go into discovery about money. Well, hey, would you be willing to figure out how we can find the money then? I'm happy to do that with you, right? Hey, can I step on your side of the table? Maybe we can come up with a game plan together and we can see how to make this work. If they're like resistant to that, again, we're just trying to be like, hey, look, I'm only going to do it if you want to. It sounds like you really want to do the program. Is that right? Okay, it sounds like you really need to do it. You can't do nothing, right? Okay, so we just need to find a way to make the money work. Great. Would you let me do that with you? Cool. Let's talk about it. And then you can go into discovery. Hey, how much access to money do you have? Do you have credit cards? All right, let's see what we're working with. And based on what we're working with, then you can drop sell, give a different price option, etc. It's pretty easy. Spouse, partner, we should have framed that away already at the beginning. But if it comes up again, we got to isolate. Okay, after you talk to so-and-so, you feel good if you were to do this. Got it. And then you just got to close the next appointment, basically, and make sure that that person's there. Don't let them give you the beat around the bush and be like, oh, he'll never be able to make an appointment. Be like, got it. Why is that? Well, he's just super busy. Okay. Is he too busy to hear about what you're trying to get accomplished with your healing, and your past pain? You got to be curious, and, so you gotta just realize, ask the obvious questions, Same with think about it. Think about it's not an objection. It's hiding the objection. So it's like, I need to think about it. Yeah, no problem. As you think about it, do you mostly need to think about like if this program is really right for you, or how you're going to find the money? Well, how am I going to find the money? Okay, got it. So assuming all the money's there, you'd be signing up right here and now because you love this thing. Oh my gosh, yeah. I just don't know how to find the money. Okay, got it. So it's just money. So it's either money or it's the program, and then you gotta build certainty on that, right? And obviously, this is not a by any means objection training. There's a lot more depth to that. This is just high level overview. Okay, then you go into the latter questions to get the credit card, right? People don't like being sold. Giving over the credit card is emotional. So we ladder them down. We ease them into it, right? It's like, cool, you ready for some homework to get started? Hey, you ready for some next steps? Cool. Then, hey, what's your billing address? Or what's your address? Or, it obviously we're not in person, but if it were in person, hey, can I get your driver's license? I'm going to take your address down, So it's like you get address, same as billing address. Cool, best emails to send you all your stuff. Great. And then what card do you want to use? And so you're laddering them down into that credit card. Lastly, though, you got to button down the sale. So you got the agreement signed, you got the payment taken. You actually have to try and take the offer away. So that's why we're like, cool, are you excited to get started? Oh, awesome. Cool, me too. Hey, just real quick. Are there any remaining reservations or reasons why you wouldn't want to do this? Cool. Do you feel 100% good about your decision today? Yes. Fantastic. Let's talk about the next steps. You're going to get an email and then yada, yada, yada. You walk them through. So you got to do a real strong button down. Don't be afraid of it, because if you're afraid of it, it's probably because you think you didn't close the sale very well anyways. So you really need to do this, right? Asking the questions that way in the button down should feel super easy, assuming you had a strong close. If it's not strong, that's why you're resistant to doing the button down. So I hope this helps. There's an approach to the call. You do your intro, discovery. That's where all the questions are. You recap it. Pitch the program. Make sure there's buy-in on the program before money. Drop the money. Go through objections. Ladder to the card. Button down the sale. Cool.